Good morning, everybody. Welcome to a substitute early bird chat. I think Gary said last week he wasn't going to run one because he had other things going on, so this is up in the meantime in case you want to see it. The join links are non existent. The way I run lobbies are a little bit different. As you can see, you can go over to gunchannels.com. The instructions are at the top right corner of the stream. And we are over at the Gun Channels 2A Topics Discord. So if you'd like to join and shoot the shit, then you're more than welcome to do so. I'm just here because no one else is doing it, so I'll just sit here and chill until GRPC stream start. For those of you who didn't know, Night Strike's been putting in the work this weekend quite a bit, hosting GRPC streams all day yesterday, which is not an easy thing to do, and it is a very thankless task. But if you couldn't attend in Phoenix, that's the next best thing, telepresence. You may hear other desktop audio sounds. I'm sharing this on my main machine, so if you do, just bear with it. I'm actually building a specific streaming machine, so I don't get mine all tied up all the time. Matter of fact, I'm not even 100% this is working. Oh yeah, it's working. Okay, well, I guess we'll just sit tight until other folks start jumping in. I don't normally do the Sunday thing, but the room's open. Chat works. Pretty sure I'm not echoing. I think I got that all figured out finally. It only took about 10 test streams to get it working. I know I'd be shooting myself in the foot mentioning this, but Yankee has a giveaway for some lock grips for the Walther Q5 match steel frame pistols. So if you have one and you want to be into that drawing, then check out his video that he released this morning and follow his instructions, and you might be selected for it. Or don't, and give me better odds of winning it. Probably should have took something for my allergies before I started this. No echo. Good. So today's the last day of Gun Rights Policy Conference. It's at, I believe, the Sheraton in Phoenix, Arizona this year. If I remember right, it'll be in Florida next year. And I watched sporadically the streams that Night Strike was putting out most of the day, and it just reinforces what I've been thinking about it for years. I've been watching these streams for years now. And while I can understand the value of streaming it so the rest of us can see it, I still have reservations about what it is and why it doesn't work. I mean, yesterday I watched a guy receive a lifetime achievement award for doing this for like 40 something years. And I'm like, okay, that's great. I mean, you've been in this fight for 40 years, and yet we're still having to fight every single day. And there have been others who say, or like people like me, for instance, I'm like, if you're gonna have these conferences, wouldn't it be most effective if you bring in the people you're trying to get this message out to, like lawmakers and judges and industry giants? I mean, I'm sure there's some there, but um, politicians, even, just let them hear the stories that everyone tells every single day, or every single speaker tells, for the least 3 days, because maybe some of those messages will reach these people, and maybe you can win these people over instead of labeling them constantly as the enemy and button heads with them all the time. Like, wouldn't it be better to try to win them over instead of criticizing them as the enemy all the time? I don't know. It's the whole attracting bees with honey instead of vinegar. And I know that some people have been doing this for so long that they feel like honey doesn't work. You have to use napalm or something. They're tired of trying to be nice about it. I know others who constantly tell me you have to be polite about it. And then there's critics that say, well, every time you confront them with facts, they come back at you with emotional drivel. And how do you respond to that? Most of the time you respond with more facts and frustration, and then they respond with more emotion and outrage or desperation. You can hear it in their voice a lot. I just think that if they've been doing this for this long, this should have been a lot more effective in a lot shorter amount of time. But then again, everyone says that every victory, no matter how small, is a victory. So anyway, we had Tropical Storm Imelda last week, and in the beginning, it started off as Imelda is just a Spanish word for all bark and no bite, and then she decided to stall and turn back around, and that's when it got kind of messy. But my area was okay. I live on the far west side of town, and my work was underwater slightly, but my parking lot's 4 feet above street level, so it only got up to the wheels. And most of the east side and the north side of town, they got hit pretty bad. They're still cleaning up, as a matter of fact. A couple of barges broke loose. Um, 3 of them collided with the San Jacinto River Bridge on the east side of town. So Interstate 10 at that bridge is closed down. I don't know if it's still closed down, but I know as of yesterday it was, and it said until further notice. It's kind of strange too, because you can always see what kind of person you're dealing with when um, a disaster strikes. So, for instance, people like me during a situation like this, I get kind of excited about it. Like, I sort of revel in it because it forces me to do things that I don't get to do most days of the week. I've got a friend that I've known for 30, 33 years, and he's the panic type. So I got up and I drove to work thinking it was just another day. And I noticed it got really dark and it got really rainy. And And I'm like, ooh, this is kind of interesting. It's pretty cool. You don't get to see these every day. Meanwhile, while I'm at work, my phone is blowing up. Just message after message after message from this guy. he he got stuck at home because his boss called and said don't come in, and he was glued to his TV the whole time, and he was just like freaking out about floods and are you at work, and oh my god, the bayou right by your shop is underwater, it's cresting over the banks, and what are you going to do? And I'm just like, I'm fine, dude. Everything's cool. And then when I heard the announcement at around noon that the Texas state governor declared this part of Texas a disaster area, I put out a PSA on my Facebook feed. I'm like, oh, hey, by the way, as of noon right now today, you can legally open carry, licensed or not, because our governor just declared us a disaster area. That new law went into effect September 1st this year. So if your area is a disaster area and you had to protect your house or whatever, from looters or criminals or whatnot, we passed a law recently that allows you to legally carry not only a long arm but a handgun, open, concealed, whatever, probably open, most likely open. And so I did. Although I was stuck at work and it took me 2 hours to get home. Every street was just muddy and nasty. I think the really strange thing about hurricanes is as soon as they form and hit land, they can just dissipate and vanish overnight. I get to watch like radar and stuff with a curiosity. Like, okay, I can kind of see where it's going. I can see that it's building. I can see that it's shrinking. But then I think it was Friday. Friday morning, I got up and it was gone. It was completely gone. There was like no mass of cloud anymore. It was like it was never there. I always find that kind of interesting. So anyway, um, let's talk about guns for a minute. I'm sort of in this awkward position where I'm not sure what's going to be next. Some of you know I have a short list um, of to dos. I don't know if I'm going to do them this year, but I think I'm going to do one more this year to make it a baker's dozen. But I'm looking at a CZ Shadow 2, a Mark 19 Desert Eagle, White Tiger, I think they call it, um, a Yugoslavian M72B1, which is RPK, and one of those auto ordnance Thompsons semi-autos. I think I'm leaving something out too. But those are the ones that are like in my mind right now, for sure. But I can only have one for now. But I went ahead and I ordered the Deadpool logo, Deadpool holster from Savoy Leather. It's called Mr. Pool. It's where it's color filled, and he's riding a unicorn. And I ordered that for a Desert Eagle. Even though I know they're not very reliable, I still want one anyway. It'd look good next to my dad's blued one, or black one. It's all wore out anyway. Y'all can jump in on Discord, right? I see you in the chat. Y'all know where to find this. I'm resisting the urge to pop up a screen share and play video games because that's not what this morning's for. I was going to do a penny arcade instead, but then I realized that Gary wasn't doing a early bird chat this morning. If you're wondering why I do it this way, it's because I'm trying to find alternative means of streaming for people who don't want to shell out money to continue doing streaming. So if you're wondering how this is the way it is and looks the way it looks, this is just OBS. And I've just created some screen shares, window shares, things like that. So at the top left is obviously where the voice channel is. That way, if there's multiple people in the room, you see my name light up with the green ring around the avatar. So there's that. So that way everyone can see who's talking. Below that is obviously the YouTube side chat, which I used to have a custom frame for that, and it worked on the very first day, and it hasn't worked since, and nobody's talking about it. So I don't know why it doesn't work, but it's supposed to look completely different than what you guys are seeing. Even though every time I do a search for custom window panes for this, it still goes back to the original thread that I used, which doesn't work. On the right, that's gunchannels.com. Let me run over here real quick. Kind of walking around right now. So this is gunchannels.com. This is our website where we gather and collaborate. And here's some of your usual suspects over here on the left. This is your daily chat schedule, which I am hijacking this one right now. Oops. I'm hijacking this one right now because he's not here. So that's where I'm at today. Everything below is what you'll see later today. And then obviously at the top right is just instructions for those who don't know how to do this so they can join in and be here. John, the Thompson I'm looking at, it's the full size one with the cuts compensator on the end of it. So it's going to be the 16-inch. But it comes with 2 drums and 6 stick mags, which is kind of nice. What I'd really like to do, and I may actually, if I buy one, I'm going to get into Foztek's ear and see if there's any way to make an echo trigger for that Thompson. If they can do that, I will put that in there. If they want me to beta test it, I will gladly do it. If they need me to send them my Thompson so they can use it to mock it up, I could be persuaded to do that too. But yeah, I think a 27A1 with an echo trigger would be pretty awesome. Because I was looking at their they've got a new Echo Sport trigger, I believe, where it's got the selector in front of the trigger. So I don't have to have a selector lever like the AR ones have. You just put it up there near the trigger pack. If that works, if they can do it that way, or if they say, well, you have to drill a hole in front of the trigger to let that thing pass through, I could do that. That's not a big deal. My dad's always talking about one, so I figured I'd get one before he won't be around to shoot it or see it. My local's got the, I think it's called the Tanker, where it's Cerakoted green with a General Star on it. I think who was it that had one of those? Who was it that had one of those? Well, I've seen one. I've seen it's been T&E'd. Oh, Gun Snob. He's had one. I don't know if he owns it, but I know I know I've seen him with it. They've got that one, and they've got one of those Bonnie and Clyde commemoratives where they Cerakoted it looking all rusty and weather worn. I have no interest in that one. I mean, I think the stock is cool, but everything else is just like, no thanks. But yeah, I haven't decided which one I want yet. Oh, good. George, my coworker, just finished Cerakoting his up. Oh shit, that came out really good. He's doing a Vietnam era. Um, he calls it a Vietnam era suppressing fire pistol, meaning he's just painting it in the was it the jungle tiger camo pattern? Ooh, I may want that if that's a Texas Ranger star on there. Of course, you're going to need a blue gun of my Steyr for it. Yeah, that came out nice. Let's see if I can upload a picture that he sent me of the upper and lower he's doing. Hopefully, I can do this without cutting off my audio. There you go. Also, if you guys didn't know, let's see if I can get this here. I had released a video on the Steyr. I did a review on it about 3 weeks ago. I've had it over a month though. What's kind of cool is every time I make one of these and I pick it up from my FFL, he posts it on his company page. So I'm trying to get into their good graces for T&E deals. That way I can do videos on guns I don't really want to own, but wouldn't mind shooting or borrowing for a week or two. We're getting there. Why did it email me my own notification? Oh, I played a little audio clip this morning before I started. I don't know if it came through or not, but I'm just curious if they're going to hit me with that one too. If you didn't know, I actually I remote hosted intentionally left blank about 2 weeks ago, and I gave her a musical intro and outro, and I deliberately picked tracks that were non well they were non-lyrical, and they were very short. They were only like 8 to 10 seconds. I put I put a long fade in and out on them too, but they still caught it. They still nailed it. So it got taken down, which sucks because it was actually a half decent show. So basically, now what I'm doing is I'm looking for free to use audio tracks. But for her show, it's kind of difficult because she has a theme going, and it's hard to find like 80-ish sounding tracks. So, matter of fact, I think she's doing one tomorrow. I'll have to check. It's I sort of helped her out with this because I noticed that it was slowly turning into hit or miss, which isn't a it's not a shit. Hang on. It's not a bad thing. It's just we've already got a hit or miss, so we don't really need like another one. Actually, we probably got like 10 of them throughout the week, but whatever. So I emailed the U.S. Postal Service yesterday. Scott knows exactly why, and naturally, I still don't have a response. But I figured in a week I'll probably get one. I ordered a leather holster and shoulder rig for my Tokarev back in, I think it was July 1st or 2nd. And the guy shipped it pretty quick. I think within 24 hours. The thing is the guy lives in the fourth largest city in Russia, which is just north of Afghanistan. So what happened is it passed through that part of Russia and it ended up in St. Petersburg and then it jumps on a plane to New York. Guess where it got stuck? New York. As of June 15th, it was sitting in New York. Or was it July? Let me take a look. July 15th, it got stuck in New York. So I emailed the guy, and he answers very quickly, and his English is pretty passable too. And he said that it might be lost. Give me a couple of days, and I'll look into it. And if it's lost, I'll send you another set. Cool. I gave him a week just to give him time, and not to be pushy. Besides, I'm not even in a hurry for it. And I wrote him back after a week, and he was like, "I got you covered. Here's your new tracking number." That one shipped a whole lot faster, but it's still stuck in New York as of September 15th. Scott, on the other hand, ordered one the day after I emailed this guy, and his showed up just fine, and it passed through the same airport. WTF. Passed through the. Yeah, yeah, you got yours. I wonder if this would work if I played it through Discord. I always wanted to see that, just in case if people were curious about stream shares and whatnot. Let me just try this real quick and see what happens. So, you want to hazard a guess what's in here? Stay tuned, and you'll find out. Well, there you go. Let's do this. Clearly, it works. It's not bad. I won't play the whole thing. I'll spare it. I'll spare you guys. Although the joke part of it's pretty good. Okay, so obviously the thumbnail is going to be a dead giveaway, but anyway, I just like to do those little intros for fun anyway. So what do we have inside the box? Let's take a look, shall we? Woo! This is the Steyr Mannlicher L9 A2. That's right, the MF. Alright, I'll spare you the rest of that. Anyway, I guess it, yeah, so you can stream video through it. That's the thing, Ozzy. You see, I only have like 270 subs. I think what it is, I actually raised this question to YouTube and I said, listen, I play a non vocal track that's less than 10 seconds with a fade in and out. So only about 4 seconds of it's actually loud. And I get hit immediately for it. But I used to, in a previous life, about 15, 16 years ago, I used to do anime fan subs, which is why I chose this picture up here. Anyway, I used to do fan subs. So back then, people would make what was called an AMV, anime music video, and uh, they would play clips from a show that typically doesn't air here in the United States. You know, we would get them, and then me and a group of people would like time it, typeset it, subtitle it, and then re-release it so people here can watch it and understand what's going on. Anyway, they would take these videos and they would take clips from them, you know, like the highlight video, and turn it into a music video of some sort, right? Based off of a theme. So, like for instance, I'll just use there was a show called Full Metal Alchemist, and it's got a lot of tragedy in it. So somebody took video clips of like the worst things that happened in that show, and they did it to a backdrop of Johnny Cash's cover of Hurt, and it's still up today, and it's been there for like 9 years. So I asked them, I said, why is it that I can have a 10-second clip that gets nailed and this guy can have a 4.5 minute video that's been up for 8 years? Naturally, they won't answer. I'm not monetized. The video was not monetized. And yet they still pull that shenanigans on you all the time. So, I don't know, man. It's whatever the Eye of Sauron, you know, that they use to get you, they're going to get you if they want. The really funny thing is all my reloading videos are still up. Ever since they put that rule in and everyone else has kind of started disappearing, my 4570 reloading video went through the roof in views. So obviously I'm playing the tag game, right? Because now people are seeing it. I was trying to get a hold of Jimmy last night, to let him know that, everyone was a GRPC. He answered me on Friday. He wanted to know where it was, so I told him where it was. And then he was like, "When is it happening?" I'm like, "It's happening right now." And a couple of people that are there told me that they were trying to reach out to him, but they couldn't get a hold of him. I don't think they know that he had his number changed. So I told Night Strike the new number. Actually, I told him both numbers because I can't remember which one's the new one. So I said, try both of these, and hopefully he'll answer one of them so he can hook up with you guys so you can see how he's been. But I haven't heard back from him or Night Strike since I sent that message. I don't know. 108 subs away from 100? What? Gary said he's not doing his early bird show for a few. Oh, that's what it was. Okay. Yeah, now I remember. Yeah, last week he said his work schedule changed. Okay, so I guess what I can do is I'll substitute Sunday shows until he gets back. I know he said that he was, if somebody wanted to do it, the slot was open. So uh, I can do this on Sunday mornings. Of course, it'd be nice if a couple of y'all would actually jump into Discord. I know some of you have it. It would make things a little easier. Otherwise, it would just be a 4-hour monologue. Yeah, I kind of miss it too. I I don't know. I miss Good Morning Gun channels. Of course, it was because I ran it. The one thing I don't miss about doing an early morning show was show prep. That is actually, well, let's get into that. Let's get into that. Okay, so some of you are not regular content creators, and that's fine. Like I tell people all the time, I don't host shows, and yet here I am. Um, I don't host a show on the regular. I just do my reviews and my, musings or whatever on my YouTube channel, but I don't actually host a show like I used to do with the morning thing. Um, if I were to give a word of advice or encouragement or warning, it would be plan ahead 8 weeks. If you do a weekly episodic show, always plan ahead 8 weeks. You can modify and change them as you see fit, but try to do your show preps 8 shows at a time because you won't realize how fast they catch up to you. If you host a show every day, um, like we did with Good Morning Gun Channels, it was me and occasionally Jimmy and Tony, and I think that was it in the mornings at the time. Um, show prep for that, you got to stay on top of it. So what I used to do was I would do the show prep the night before the next day or the next show. And it would usually take me somewhere in the neighborhood of 2 to 3 hours to get enough topic and material and history and all that stuff where I needed it. And what I would do is I would just open up Notepad and I would just start typing thoughts, and then I would start adding links to the subjects I wanted to talk about. And I used to have this website that I would use that had a daily this day in history, militarily this day in history. So it was always something at least military or gun related in some form or fashion. So that would take up a good sized segment where I could talk about that every day. Then I would hit up like celebrity births and deaths, and then you could branch off from that. And I had a website that had some pretty decent trivia, firearms trivia, and that worked pretty well for a while too. What's really strange is I can't believe I got away with it when I did it back then because at the time my boss's wife was a real authoritarian and she used to get really annoyed if I talked out loud at work to seemingly nobody. And then she realized I was online and she got really upset. And one day, my boss actually told her just to leave me alone because I've been there for this is going on 16 years, I think. And the one thing that I do that nobody else does is I can be preoccupied with doing something like this and still get all my work done, or sometimes even get ahead so I don't have to work as hard at the end of the week. And he pointed that out to her and he said, just leave him alone. Because at my shop, it's kind of strange. There's enough people inside that speak the same language that they all talk to each other. And the only person I can talk to at my shop on the regular is on the completely other end of the shop, George. So it's like I have a pretty dull day otherwise. It's just I have to deal with calls and talking to complete strangers, but then I can also talk to you guys. So once he pointed that out to her, she sort of left me alone. The only caveat was is don't get too loud. So I try not to yell. Although back in the day, we had some pretty heated discussions. Like G and I even had some pretty heated ones, and sometimes Yankee and I would have a couple. But I mean, it was just out of topical respect, I guess. You know, it's like I wasn't calling people idiots or anything. Well, okay, maybe one person, but it was in jest. All right, so I need to come up with today's. I like to call it the gun range menu. I have to come up with the menu of what I want to take. If you've seen my video on range etiquette, see if I can find that real quick. It, oh, it's here. This one. If you've seen that video, then you'll know what I'm talking about. Where it's a process, isn't it? When you go to the range. The same airport. So for me, it's an ordeal to some degree, but it usually starts with deciding what I'm going to take. So I'm thinking about taking my FDE AR pistol and a couple of handguns. But, you know, if you've got like over 30 guns, you probably know the same situation. You're going to go to the range. There's only so much time in the lane that you can have before they're going to start wanting you to move along. And then you don't want to bring too many guns because then you're only going to shoot like 5 rounds out of each. So I usually, try to take only 4, maybe 5. And then I usually bring about 300 rounds for each gun. And then I just try to make the best of it. So it's like you pick the 5, you lay them out, you grab all the ammo for those 5 guns, which sometimes they're not common caliber, so you're carrying a lot of ammo. And then you got to haul it off to the car, which 5 guns, 300 rounds, 1,500 rounds. You guys know I shoot large caliber, gets pretty heavy. So you load up the car, then In my situation, I don't have a range buddy because a couple of my friends are flakes and they don't even have guns, but they always want to shoot mine, and that gets old real fast. And the few that do live too far away, so no bueno. So I usually go myself, rent the lane, lay everything out, unpack my bag, lay all my guns and ammo on the table, and then finally, after about 10, 20 minutes of setup, send the target down range, and away we go. Then it's a matter of putting everything back, hauling it back to the car, bringing it home, stripping them, cleaning them, the whole 9 yards. So, oh, I left out the most important part. The closest range to my house is a mile away from my neighborhood, and it's the one place I don't go to because it sucks. Like the rules suck. The range officers are fucking fascists. It's crazy, and it's the only outdoor range in the area. So I have to go to an indoor one that's an hour away, where I get along with everybody. I know the owner. I know all the people who work there. They even tweak the rules a little bit so I can bring 50 cal because they said no 50 cal, but because I let everyone there shoot it, they let me shoot 50 cal. Um, so it's an hour just to get there. So it's a long day. Like if I go, they open in 20 minutes. If I already had everything packed up, ready to go, throw it in the car, drive over there. Now it's for me, it would be uh, about noon. Then I get set up. Then I start shooting. Now I'm done at like let's say 1:30, maybe 2 o'clock if I really stretch it. Then it's another hour back, and then it's like an hour of sorting and cleaning and decapping all the brass and putting them back in their little buckets. It's already 4:30, 5 o'clock. Like this thing, it's in a day long ordeal. Sort of like Patrick when he goes on Fridays. Who's here? Who joined us? Like that little segue.
I am, yes, I am here.
Hello.
Hello, hello. Good morning, good morning.
So Gary's not going to be around for a while. So I think what I'll do, if you're up for it, is I'll host this on Sunday if you want to keep me company. If you're not too busy.
No, I'm not. No, I'm usually about this time. I'm getting ready to go to the range also on Sunday, so
Cool.
it's I'm just getting getting stuff out, trying to figure out what I'm going to use, what else I'm going to take. I got one gun I need to take, AR-10. Made need to zero that thing at a different distance and make sure my handguard doesn't come loose after I've Loctited it, put different screws in it and everything, and did all that. So far it hasn't come loose, thank God. But I'll probably have to zero it again on another day, anyways, because it's very windy here, and I don't know. It's probably gonna throw it all off.
Last night we were, I think we were in Angelina's lobby, but Slim did a very good impression of you. Actually, he was talking about his Delta Elite, right? And the multitude of issues he keeps having with it. He was like, "Yeah, I'm breaking the I think it has a plastic guide rod." He's like, "Damn thing keeps breaking," and I'm like, "That's a really good impression of Patrick." He's like, "What do you mean?" I said, "You both love a gun that's nothing but a screaming nightmare." Oh, but it's a good gun. I'm like, "All right, it's a good gun. Just waiting for you to sort out the issues, get the bugs worked out of it."
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I think, honestly, I think my entire problems would have been solved with an adjustable gas block on this, but
Mm,
I am a stickler for keep it simple, stupid,
mm-hmm.
and adjustable gas blocks. Um, Not saying they don't work, they do, but if you want one that works right, you're gonna pay a stupid amount of cash for it. I'm like, oh, damn it, you know. Even facts in the barrel. That's the barrel I have in it. They even said it's best to use an adjustable gas block on this and another barrel that I have, and I just haven't used it because it's another thing that can break when I don't want it to break or fail or screw up, and then the gun doesn't freaking work. It's like, you know, I'm
I
like
think you're
Mr. Guns
right
and
though.
Gear. If I don't
I
have
think
to,
you do need it
if I don't have to
because
have one, I don't want one.
I think you do need it because you load your 308 kind of hot.
Actually, it's not that hot. It's still, I mean, it's below the minimum, like a lot.
Really?
Yeah, I'm running 40. So I made, so I'm retested. Okay, initially I tested IMR 4064 with Nosler RDF 308 bullets and 175 grain, and it
Mm.
hated it. So I put that pound of powder up in the freaking closet for months. I never tested it with Sierra Match King. So after my dismal long range trip about a month ago, I decided, I got to try something else. I was like, I never tried it 4064 with Sierra Match Kings. So I loaded some up in some different, obviously, powder charges. And around 42.8, man, that thing shot freaking perfect. I mean, stupid tight groups. And I was like, well, shit, I was using the wrong damn bullet with the wrong powder.
Mm.
And that's just what happens in reloading. You don't freaking know until you try every combination there is. That's the bad thing about it because that's not cheap. It gets expensive after a while.
Oh yeah.
You have all these failures, and then your one success, and then you got all these extra spare parts and spare components, and it's like, what do I do with this?
Yeah, my window
But
on that is 39 to 44.
yeah, I didn't even start at the bottom like I should have, but I also knew from other people like Johnny's reloading bench. He used the same thing: IMR 4064, Sierra Match King 175s.
Mhm.
His data and his testing that he had from his YouTube channel, the groups were horrible, and I knew I wasn't going to get the velocity that I needed to get to 1,000 yards. So I knew starting down low was going to be pointless and a waste of bullets and a waste of powder. So why do it? I'm not. The gun ain't going to blow up. If it would have blown up, it would have blown up already. So I started quite a bit higher, but I can't even remember the max charges on it.
You ever try 130 grain bullets?
Uh, no, I tried the lowest I've ever tried is 150, and I got but that was on the 18-inch barrel, and I got
Mhm.
a pretty good grouping with AR comp with that. My thing is distance with this thing. I want this thing to shoot far, and when you start getting down in like 130s, you're the BC of the bullet is not good compared to a 175 um, or 168.
Mhm.
So aerodynamically, you're limiting yourself to a shorter range. Now 130s will work, yeah, for hunting 500, 600 yards. I'm sure, probably 700, probably even 800. No problem. But
They're screaming
one step,
downrange too. 3,100 feet per second.
yeah, yeah. And that's the thing is, the lighter the bullet, the faster it's going to move. So I mean, but I was just wanting the heavier stuff, the stuff that'll buck the wind better and have the higher BC and try and do what everybody else does. But it is what it is. I'm getting there.
All right, John, let me answer your question. I know I saw it there. Um, what happened to Jimmy? So, without making it too personal, he has had to reinvent himself. So, he's living on his own, and it's been difficult. And he's, I think, down to only his carry pistol, kind of to give you an idea of how rough it's gotten. but I still text him from time to time. I gave Tony and a couple others his cell number, and we check up on him and whatnot. But he's just working. I guess is a good way to put it. He's working it out, trying to figure out what to do next. I think the most difficult thing for him is trying to prove to, I guess, whoever his doubters are that he can make it there, because one of his simpler solutions was to go back to Chicago, where he came from, because he has a better support network over there. But he's trying to just work it out where he is. That's the short of it.
Yeah, it sucks. I miss having Jimmy on, especially when he was doing. Him and Tony were doing. Uh, oh, God, what was the show called?
His
Yeah,
early watch.
Early Watch. Yeah, I had a brain fart here for a minute. I used to listen to them all day long, or at least, well, the entire time they were on.
Yep, that was me.
Hmm. Well, I hope he gets. I hope everything gets, turned around and he can, gets back on his feet and all that. And I mean, this just happens. Everybody in life goes through issues and has things that take the wrong turns, and you don't ever expect it, but you gotta fight through it, and you can't give up. And it ain't easy and it ain't fun. I know that. I've been there myself. My neighbor's doing yard work, which is what I should be doing, but I'm not doing that today.
Yeah, I guess that's the one benefit of Imelda is when it started, I ran outside and just started like tossing fertilizer all over the grass, right?
Yes, that's what I would have been doing too.
St. Augustine grass is ridiculously resilient because maybe about a month and a half ago, I'd get home and the grass was all curled up and dry. And I thought,
Hmm.
man, I told my folks they can turn on the sprinkler system if they want in the daytime because it just it sustain can't sustain grass when the sun's beating down on it all day long, in front of my house. And
Hmm.
they have this idea of if you water the grass in the middle of the day, the water acts like little magnifying glasses and helps burn up the grass faster. And I'm like, what Mickey Mouse shit is that?
What?
I'm like, no, you turn the water on, you cool down the ground, you soak the yard so it's cooler than ambient air temperature and it won't curl. You saturate it so it's got plenty of water to cope with the heat. And I proved it this week because the entire yard is thick again and it already needs to be cut
Hmm.
after like only 4 days.
I have my sprinklers only running 2 days a week. I used to have it 3 days a week. Um, but I lowered it to 2 days a week because I wanted to lower my damn water bill. Because my water bill is freaking high as hell here. It's 120 to $150 a month.
Your water
Um,
bill?
yes,
Jesus.
we're in an unincorporated town, and the freaking water bill is just stupidly high. When I got a freaking lake less than a mile from my house, I live on a basically a peninsula. There's a lake on two sides. Uh, the lake's on both sides. Less than a mile one way and about a mile the other. I'm like, and I have to pay all this much money for water. But so I lowered it to 2 days a week, and I have my sprinkler system running at I think like 3 o'clock in the morning, 3 or 4 in the morning, like maybe 15 minutes
Mm.
a station. Uh, but I tell you what, I haven't had an issue all year of any nasty dead dying grass, but we've had more rain this year than we have had last year. You know, so
Hmm.
it wasn't so bad. Like, I mean, we the North Texas area has been out of a drought for about 5 years, where before that we were in a drought for about 7 years. I mean, literally no water,
Do
no
you remember
rain.
that one we had that was so bad that the streets started coming up?
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, yeah. The whole basically the whole state of Texas was
Yeah.
in that drought, like 7, 8 years. I
Yep.
mean, it was bad. We had very little, and then all of a sudden, I mean, the freaking heavens opened up. I mean, up here, it rained for 2 months solid every day of the week for about 2 to 3 hours, and it was always in the afternoon drive home. Um, it would rain for about 2 to 3 hours, and it was pouring down rain, just like a hurricane.
Mm.
And gee, our lake levels went up like 60 feet above normal and everything. And we were like, yay, yay, all the water, we had. And then all of a sudden, by the next summer, it was all gone.
Actually, now that I think about it, the beginning of this year was pretty bad. Uh,
Yeah.
we had a raining season that started around probably the beginning of November, and it would rain 6 out of 7 days of the week, all the way until April. I mean, it felt like Seattle around here. Which part?
Well, it kind of always feels like Seattle and Houston.
She wants me to read about botanical omega treats for dogs.
Eh,
Well, Cleo's pregnant, so it's like I'm trying to be really careful with her diet. She's getting big. She's getting real big. It's there's an amazing thing about dog pregnancy because it's so much faster than human pregnancy that you can get up and go to work in the morning and see your dog one way. You come back after a 9-hour day and she got even bigger. Like, wait a minute. It happens so much faster. Feed as a treat. Always have fresh water available. Uh-huh. Oh, this is that one with omega-3 fish oils. I guess this is okay.
Omega-3 fish oil.
Yeah, I actually take it as a dietary supplement for myself, and I think Angelina does too for her new diet. But they make them for dogs too, apparently, and that's what she's been feeding her as treats. I keep telling her not to waste her money. I'm like, listen, dogs are pretty simple. They live a happy life of structure and order as long as you can keep to the structure and the order. And I said, I get these little pedigree dentist sticks, those little green things that smell like mint, and they
Oh yeah.
scrape the teeth. And I'm like, just give her this twice a day because these are you can treat them like treats. It's if it's not their normal dog food, it's special to them. They're like, "Oh my god, it's something different and you're handing it to me. Life is great." Wow, you know?
Yeah.
I'm like, "Just give her those."
So much
So I give her
fun.
those and then I've got these little why is rawhide bad for dogs? Because they still sell them on the regular.
I have no clue. I've never
Like I
heard it
get
really was bad for them.
yeah, like I get those little 6-inch chew sticks and they both love it. And I like it because it scrapes their teeth while they're chewing on it. I mean, the stick only lasts like 10 minutes. You know, they'll just, as soon as you give it to them, they just go to town on it and they'll just stay there chewing on it until it's gone. but I get the plain unflavored versions of those.
Who said rawhide was bad for
A lot of
dogs?
people do. I mean, I if they were bad, I don't think they would sell them as much as they do, and there wouldn't be as much variety as there is. I could sort of see why the flavored ones might be an issue because of the stuff that they soak them in, that it might actually be counterproductive. But I mean, I just get the normal ones.
Yeah, I don't get anything. Milo doesn't really get much because he's just happy. He just rather just you pet him. That's all he wants.
Hmm.
Just he's like, just hold me. I'm 130 pounds and I want you to hold me on your lap. Like this is where I'm gonna sit. If you like it or
Oh, did you see that picture of George's upper and lower set?
no.
Scroll up on the Discord a little bit in the lobby chat text box above my two videos. He sent me a picture. He just finished it this morning. He's going to do the handguard either tonight or tomorrow. I think it looks badass.
Let me increase the brightness on this thing.
That's his idea of jungle tiger stripe, Vietnam era jungle tiger stripe.
Yeah, that looks good. Heck yeah.
I told him not to paint the castle nut because it's part of the tube on one of those, and he masked like half an inch ahead of it too. And I'm like, you didn't have to do that. You could have painted that too. It's like just the nut. Don't do the nut. I guess he's got his reasons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good looking.
That's his um that's his second black rate ordnance lower, and I want to say that's a Larue upper, and then that's the SB PDW brace. He loves those things.
Man,
I've only
I
got the one.
can't for the price.
They are expensive.
That's too that costs too much for me.
Well, the one for the Troy Alpha carbine's
Oh,
even more.
I'm. I think they're cool. Like, oh yeah,
I think if I do another pistol, I'm probably gonna just get the SBM. Was it the SBA4?
that's what I have.
I'm just not sure what I'm gonna build with it though. I wonder how well it'll hold up to 50 Beowulf. Tropical Storm Karen has formed. I wonder if she wants to speak to the manager. Somebody's gonna like send me a comment about that's not funny. These are serious. Struggle net. Even at home. Even at home. Hydra.
No, I don't know what happened. No, I put it near the windowsill, and I was like, "What the heck's going on here?" and there was some tropical storm or something in the Gulf, and it was called. It had a nerd's name. Do you remember what it was,
How
or
long
have you
ago?
seen it? It was like literally like a week ago. This one had some nerd's name. It was something I can't remember, but I was like, great
Well, let's
place
take a look.
nerd.
Jerry, Fernand. So far, we've had Andrea, Barry, Chantal, Dorian, Aaron, Fernand, Gabrielle, Umberto, Imelda, Jerry, and Karen.
That's what it was. Or no, it wasn't. Okay, it was Umberto. Sorry, I don't know why I was thinking of nerd.
That
That's
was
what
the
it
one
was.
I think that was. Um, it just barely missed the Bahamas, and it just swung right out into the ocean and died.
Yeah, yeah. It's like Umberto. We're gonna call it Umberto. I'm like, oh my god, really? I work with a guy named Roberto, so
A more legitimate Beto than Francis.
very, very much so.
Cool. So we have a Karen. She's here to destroy the manager.
Eh,
I think what I'll do is I'll find a satellite picture of her cloud coverage and then put the haircut and Photoshop it on top of it.
There you go.
Watching
yes.
Karen. It'll be a ratings juggernaut. There were two storms that went up the Baja Peninsula. They seem to have just vanished too. Oh well. The one promising thing I do see, there's a there's an autumn cold front just northwest of us. With any luck, you might get it, but I don't think I will.
Oh, I hope so. I'm kind of sick and tired of hot days, and it hasn't been that excruciating hot.
No, there's
And it's
definitely
been
been worse
100. It's
years.
been 90. It's been yeah. Oh God, yes. It's been there's say hot in Texas, 95 degrees and 100 degrees. That's normal for the summer. That's standard heat. We're talking hot. It's 110, 105. 100. So it's been normal hot here, and so it hasn't been excruciatingly bad.
They got 60s in the Panhandle, the very extreme
God,
northwest of it, but
I'm ready for that.
yeah, they got 30s in Colorado already.
Shit, we've had 30s up here.
Meanwhile, on my retirement island, it's in the 50s, I think. That looks like the 50s. Ooh, ooh, whoa! It's 36 right now for the morning weather because it's only 8 a.m. over there. But yeah, it's going to hit 50 later. They get it pretty mild. I think the coldest I've ever seen it over there is like 10. And it's not even that long. What you got there? What is that? Is
A
Who?
little something I picked up yesterday.
that a break?
Comp.
What's it going on?
Scorpion.
Ooh.
I just need to figure out if I need a crush washer for it. Probably gonna. Because it came with a little rubber O-ring, but it doesn't quite make the final tight turn.
Does the little rubber O-ring fit inside the diameter of the crush washer? The old one?
The Scorpion doesn't actually have a crush washer on it.
Oh.
It's got a funky, like, double thread setup. with like just a nut protector for the barrel thread. Let me grab it. I'll throw a picture up so you can understand what I'm talking about. Because after that, my Scorpion will pretty much be done, set up the way I want it.
You know, it's not actually a washer, right?
Yeah, I know.
They call it a tension spring or something, but some people say you have to put them on to clock your brakes in the right orientation. So if you can't get that last little turn, maybe that's exactly what you need.
I call it a crush washer. Washer.
Washer?
Washer.
Washer.
Now my camera will just focus.
It's a crush washer in my book. That's just because I'm dealing with fasteners all day long, anyways.
Oh, that's what they sell them and market them as.
That too. That kind of helps.
So you guys were here for it, but I mean, I'm just going to put it out there for whoever's watching and listening or whoever picks it up later. But you've read the story that recently came out that said that the ATF admitted that it lacked the authority to rule on bump stocks, right?
Yep.
So,
Yeah, I read that late last night.
right. So, by that premise, if they lack the authority for that ruling, that means they lack the authority for any ruling, which should make
Bingo.
every ruling null and void. The problem with this, though, is think of the damage to the industry that they had done. Like, where's the story? I hope it comes out tomorrow because it'll be Monday. We will be back to a normal corporate work week. I want to see a story that says Slide Fire Systems is suing the ATF for ruining their business.
I mentioned that a couple times on Jared from Guns and Gadgets live stream.
Like, I want to see that.
Well,
because they literally put a legal company out of business.
Exactly.
What do you think the punitive damages are going to be for that?
Hundreds of millions of dollars.
You can't sue the ATF. You'd
Why not?
be suing the federal government. You'd be suing
Yeah,
the
you
federal
can. government.
Happens
all the time.
They're a branch of the government.
Right.
So you're suing the government, not the ATF. Yeah. And
you specifically name the ATF because that's the part of the government that screwed you.
Right, but it's an alphabet, organization. It doesn't. It all falls.
I think what Patrick is saying is basically you have to sue the DOJ.
Yeah, or whoever. Yeah.
That's fine. I want to see that.
In Fort Worth, RW Arms in Fort Worth, who bought all the bump stocks from everybody out there and had to destroy them, is suing the U.S. government for $120 million.
Yep.
Due to lost sales and everything else, and because of this, and they did that as soon as they had to take him out to the junkyard and crush him. Where they said we're getting a lawsuit and we're going to sue you. But I mean that lawsuit's been going on for about 6 months. Well, or actually ever since March.
What's the bigger threaded section of that for?
I don't know. Well, there's originally like a. Let me see if I can find it here.
Well, the one you took off, does it screw into both or just the small one?
Well, that's the thing. It's got a little thread protector that screws on to the little one. But there's like a. Let me find it here. And I'll post up a picture.
I'm blowing it up for the viewer. But yeah, I'm just curious. Like, does the brake screw on the big one or the little one? The original one.
The little one.
Okay, so then the big one has something that you screw on top just to cover the threads?
Well, it's like a... it's got a little thread protector nut that goes on the one that actually is the barrel.
Mm-hmm.
And then it has this. Oh, take that so it's not fuzzy. That screws on to the outer, bigger threads.
Okay, so your brake kind of fits inside it.
Well, this is, I think this is the kind of like their version of a brake, but it kind of sucks. And then the little thread protector fits inside of it.
Mm-hmm.
So you screw the big one on first. No, you screw the small one on first.
And then that goes over the top of it onto the big threads.
Yeah.
To make it look bigger than it is.
Yeah, pretty much.
Got it. So your new one, it fits on the small ones, right?
Yeah, it's on the small ones.
All right. And there is a little bit of a gap, but I don't think that's big enough for a crush washer.
Well, the new one has actually a recessed backside.
Oh, to fit over it?
Well, it's probably meant for room for the O-ring.
Mm-hmm.
But I would assume a crush washer would be fine too.
Hail Hydra.
Ha ha ha.
Hey, I finally got to see the new Spider-Man yesterday. I rather liked it. And then I got really angry at Sony.
Haven't they made that movie already?
Far From Home?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's been out for a while.
isn't this like Spider-Man 5,000?
Well, yeah, but it's only the, second one of his own movies? Oh, that's not far enough back. Maybe you just put the O-ring over the threads. The
Well,
big
that's the
threads.
thing. It does, but it doesn't tighten when you tighten it.
It doesn't clock
It
in
doesn't
properly.
it doesn't clock in properly. I'd have to really crank it, and at that point,
You're
you
worried about
probably
stripping
actually.
it.
Well, not that. I'm worried about that O-ring just shredding because it compresses it so much.
Well, yeah, it's supposed to squeeze it a little bit.
Oh no, this to get it to clock right would be squeezing it a lot.
You can't put a crush washer on that then.
Should be able to.
It doesn't have a well,
Doesn't
technically
have
it
a
doesn't have
flat.
a flat enough face on that inside ring to, well, maybe it could. Instead of using the O-ring, you use the crush washer instead.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Well, only one way to find out.
Yep. It means I gotta find my AR tool somewhere.
I got this chintzy, I think it's a Tapco. It's that stamped
That's
green
what I got.
steel with the gel-coated handle.
Yeah, that's what I got.
The reason I got that one is so I don't over-tighten things. Because I always have this nasty habit of cranking things too tight. So what I usually do is I just use that, because if I overdo it, it'll slip and I'll bust my knuckles.
Yeah, I've noticed that with that particular tool. I mean, this comp was originally designed for the PC9, but they said it will fit the Scorpions, which they may or may not have let slip yesterday when I was talking to Tandem Cross that there's more Scorpion stuff in the works.
What? Clover's wife got a temporary hunting license. And then she wrote hashtag hog sausage. And I'm like, you don't need a hunter's license for hogs anymore in the state of Texas. But she also wants to hunt deer, so probably do you do need it for that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Shoot, I bet you he's got plenty of land up there to go do that on for free. East of there, east of here.
You know that post I made about the red flag laws? I think it was yesterday or the day before yesterday. That whole scenario thing.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that I found a bit over the top about it was the part about it's the meth heads down the street. I'm like, oh come on, that's extreme, isn't it? Like everything else of
not,
that story was pretty good.
not in some people's neighborhoods. Some people's neighborhoods, that's true.
Yeah. I want to do a show on that. I really do, but I don't host shows. Not on the regular.
No, but the story was right. I mean, it's gonna happen. I mean, it's already happened to one individual who was there by himself in Maryland. You know, and
It's already happened multiple times.
well, but I mean, this is where they kill the husband, wife, and the kid is in there. Just like the way the story that Sean posted plays out.
Oh, that's already happened multiple times. They're just not
What,
publicizing it.
husbands and wives getting whacked by SWAT?
At the very least, the husband.
Well, we had something happen in my city that was remarkably parallel to red flag laws. What it was is an early day no knock raid that was executed at the wrong house
Oh, I remember hearing about this one.
for a drug bust. Now, this is nasty. I'll tell you the ending. The ending is 2 officers are charged with murder and their trials are coming. But what
Oh,
makes this
this
whole
isn't the
thing
one I was
stink,
thinking of.
the thing that stinks the most is one officer that was on the scene had evidence of another drug bust in his glove box in case he needed to plant it. It was supposed to be checked in and he kept it in case he had to plant it. And then
Man,
what they did was they kicked down this dude's door, right? No warning. The first thing you're going to do is react to the noise. And how are you going to react to the noise? You're going to grab your gun and you're going to confront whatever kicked down your door, right? The dog came running at the door before the guy could get up. The dog got shot and killed. Then he turned around and tried to shoot at whoever shot his dog. He got lit the fuck up. His wife sees her husband go down. She pulls her pistol. She got lit the fuck up too.
That's where I have a problem with those no-knock warrants.
I mean,
because there was another case in Texas you might be familiar with, Sean, where they had a no-knock warrant, drug thing, early morning, woke the guy up. He shot and killed 2 or 3 cops. And then they tried charging him with murder, and he actually got off.
huh.
It was down in Texas a couple years ago.
You know, the thing is we have the society and legal system built upon the idea of I would rather let 1,000 guilty men go free than to execute an innocent person, right? And by that premise, they would have to set up a system similar for red flag laws and like warrant searches. Like they would have to notify you for the red flag thing. I always thought that if they had to do it and they actually did it through real, true, due process, where the accuser had the burden of proof and he or she had to convince a state's prosecutor a state's prosecutor to say, yeah, you have a case there, then the state's prosecutor would have to take it to a grand jury, and the grand jury would have to say, yeah, you have a case there, and then the grand jury would have to take it to a judge, and the judge would go, yeah, you have a case there, here's a warrant. So there's 3 checks before they act on it, right? If they all 3 agree, then they should send a notice, certified mail, that day to that person saying you have been singled out as somebody that is a danger or a potential danger under the red flag laws of the state. You need to be on premises at this date at this time. That way, you know when they're coming, and why you should be there. That way, there is no element of surprise where you're getting stunned when you hear your door get kicked down. You just have two, uniformed officers, calm and cool, just knock on the door and say, "Hi, we're here because of this letter. Did you receive it? This is why we're here." Because if you do it that way, that's due process. If you do it that way, an innocent person never gets killed. Maybe 1,000 bad people have boating accidents, sure, but an innocent person doesn't have to die.
Well, see, that's the whole thing. They don't have to confiscate your firearms.
Right. They can say, "Do you have family that does not live here who can take these on your behalf?"
Exactly.
But they don't want that because that's not public safety is not what they're after.
No, they're after confiscation.
Exactly. They want your stuff, your hardware, to be locked up under so much red tape that you're just going to give up and go buy another one. But then you can't because you've been red flagged. So now you can't even buy another one because you'll get it denied.
Like I know in Massachusetts, because they have a red flag law, you have the option in Massachusetts to bring your firearms to a secure holding facility.
Mhm.
They charge you monthly to store them while you fight the red flag. So it's a third party, and you probably have to show up with a document from the court saying it's okay for him to get his guns back.
See, and the other thing we talked about was who's going to pay for the legal defense? If I was arrested and convicted of a crime like aggravated robbery, right? And I don't have the means of defending myself, the state will issue a public defender on my behalf, right?
Yep.
If I get red flagged and I've got more washing machines on my patio than I have running cars and I can't afford defense, who's going to protect me for that? Are you going to give me a public defender? I seriously doubt it. What about if I have something like Texas Law Shield? We talked about this before. They will fight for your defense if you have to use your weapon in self defense. Will they expand their coverage to protect you if you've had your implement of self defense wrongfully taken from you? Because if they don't, then I have no use for them anymore. Because what's the point of having insurance for self defense if they won't even protect my tool of self defense? Now I don't have it, so now I don't need the insurance anymore, right? You don't think for a minute that these insurance companies don't want to capitalize on the possibility of making more money off of you? Because it's insurance, right? Think about it. If there was 7 million policyholders in the state of Texas for Texas Law Shield, how many of those people do you honestly think are going to get red flagged? Less than 1/1000th of a percent. Which
And the
means
other
if they
thing,
say, look, we're going to add additional supplemental coverage for $5 a month. So if you're ever red flagged, we'll pay for your legal defenses there too. Everybody pays an extra $5 a month. You know how much more money they make for that 1 in a million chance that they actually have to defend you? It would be stupid not to do it.
well, the other thing is they haven't done it yet, but they're trying to push liability insurance on people.
I've seen that.
Just
I've heard of that
just
before.
to own firearms.
I've heard of that before. It's sort of like they're trying to treat the gun like a car.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing,
Car
though.
is not a right.
Right. But the other thing is that's kind of what Texas Law Shield is already about, right? And there's other ones, but if
No, but they're mandating.
right, they want to make it required.
Yes.
So what you're saying is instead of having just the idea of supplemental coverage for those who choose to have the insurance, it's sort of like Obamacare, where they want everyone to pay for that insurance.
Mhm.
Yes.
which is the government's way of making these companies a ton of money. So now you need to find out which lobbyist suggested this so he can disappear and end up in Gitmo for betraying the entire nation.
That would be the entire Democrat Party because they approved it.
Right, but they're going to have to
Okay.
find a lobbyist, or they're going to have to find someone from one of these insurance groups that go, yeah, that's a good idea. And then all of a sudden they get
they
a
already
check
are.
cut to them.
They are going to be in for it. Look at all the insurance for Medicare
Struggling it.
and your Supreme Court. Oh, shit. I'm out here loading up the Jeep.
Slightly struggling
Look,
it.
they had
Not anymore.
Just wait till you get back in the house.
hold on.
You sure you don't want to join the master
Funny,
race? Are you sure?
The phone's in the garage. The phone is in the garage.
Oh, you're Bluetooth
And I'm
struggling. Okay.
Yeah, the phone's in a place where a good cell signal is, and they're flying around my neighborhood. Steerman bike lane.
That reminds me, I have to get
No,
a
what
new
I'm
earbud.
saying, Obamacare proved that the government has to mandate you to buy insurance, and it can be anything. So you bet your bottom dollar, next Democrat House and Senate and presidency, every country will have to buy insurance. Then you're going to have your confiscate. Then you're going to have your registries. Then you're going to have your confiscation. It's just going to, it's the fact that it's going to happen. I mean, they've already done it with Obamacare, and Obamacare will come back. That's the
Well,
other
it's
shitty
never
thing.
left. It's just been
No, but
stripped
what
down a
Trump
bit.
did was get rid of the penalties.
Right.
Mom had to pay penalties, but I mean, there's folks like Sean that doesn't. He didn't have to pay anything.
Right, because I see the thing is when someone sticks an unjust penalty on you, you damn well right I'm going to find out a loophole to it. And I did it for
What?
years.
I just tell them to go screw themselves and go take a flying leap off a short pier.
Well, what I
Well,
basically
there was
should
something I saw that said the ATF, not the ATF, the IRS can't actually levy taxes, and they admitted it. So I think it was the former head. So it's like, okay, so you're admitting that you have no legal authority to actually tax us, but yet you're taxing us and threatening us with violence if we don't pay.
Well, yeah.
they can't force you to buy something you can't afford. That's the gist of it. I don't know. It was easy for me because I looked at the way it worked, and then I saw an option when you file electronically. It asks you the question, and you basically just say, "My employer provides my health benefits." Click, and you're done. It's just like okay, and it just goes on to the next step. Doesn't say how long the battery life on this thing is.
But that goes back to how long before somebody sues the government if they try and include that insurance requirement.
Oh
Because
yeah,
what they're trying to do is price people out of being able to afford to own them.
yeah. It's a mix of Obamacare and poll tax.
Yes.
And what they'll do, most likely, is they will file for an injunction, and the injunction will be denied. Where else did we hear that happen?
The bump stock with
Oh
with
yeah.
military arms channel. Military arms channel.
Yep.
They said, nope, your lawsuit is, and your injunction, your lawsuit is null and void. Tough shit. Get the fuck out of our courtroom.
Yep.
It's just like, thought you guys were supposed to work for us.
Government works for government.
Yeah.
I have found your Jeep engine swap.
Yeah, it was that place out in on the East Coast. Yeah.
Sunny's 1005.8 cubic inch Godfather big block.
Oh Jesus.
Good God. It has a 10.5 inch deck on it.
Man, I fucking can't believe I did that. I like. Son of a biscuit. God dang it.
5.22 inch bore, 5.875 inch stroke. 2,150 horsepower at 8,000 RPM. Hello. Holy shit. The question now becomes, will it fit? Surprisingly, it might. The Godfather is only 34 inches wide from valve cover to valve cover. It's only 26.5 inches from the crank to the throttle body, and it's only 32 inches from the flywheel to the pan, or to the crank bolt. That's only an inch, 1.4 inches more than a stock big block Chevy. Crazy. Pretty sure this is supposed to go into a boat.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure it's.
Or one of Cletus's cars. He's running it on 2 throttle bodies. Imagine putting a blower on that thing.
Cool.
Good God.
Yes.
Look at the valve covers on it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's what it's for. It's a drag racer engine.
You can put it in anything you want.
Well, yeah, but that's what he designed it for.
That needs to go into Leroy. Oh, goody. All right. Night Strike is now streaming the Gun Rights Policy Conference. So now you all have something to watch instead of listening to us three banter on. Let me put a link in the video so you can see it in case you don't have him subbed, which some people don't. I could just play it live through here, but I do want to go to the range too. All right, so here's the link for that. You got a pretty good seat this time too. We must have noticed him yesterday and say, hey, if you want to set up a camera, you can be right here under the stage. All right,
Well, they
so
saw the gun tube patch on his hat.
oh, without a doubt. All right, so off we go. I guess we'll go ahead and do this again next Sunday. It'll run longer because there won't be a GRPC video, obviously. So thanks for watching, and we will see you guys later.
Bye bye.
Later.
Adios, Felicia.